Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello everyone. I am Surbi and I'm back with the second section of your understanding media concept. So today we're going to talk about mass media. What is mass media? Now starting with the understanding of the term mass media, it means it is the means of communication which reaches large number of people in short span of time. We know about mass means something large in number. Yeah, large in number. And media is what? A medium of communication. So something which is able to spread the information to large number of people around us in a very short span of time is known as mass media. Now herein in the video we will talk about some types of mass media. You do have the first type as the print media. If you understand and if you are able to relate with the picture, yes, the print media is in the form of newspapers, magazines, journals, books and newsletters. All of these information that is being circulated around in the world or in the written form, in the printed form comes under the category of print media. Now, it covers the current events happening across the country and the world at large. So, whatever events are happening across the country and the world is all covered in this print media. Now, print media has restricted consumers as it is unable to provide a level of creativity and ease with which one can interact with the information. So for a lot of us, print media actually is a little monotonous way of looking at things or a little monotonous way of understanding or gathering information. When I use the term monotonous, it means, something which is not very exciting, something which is not very creative. However, that is a type that a lot of people like, that is something which is very crisp and, which is something without many pictures or without any a very elaborative articles. You're getting to know about all the information. So it depends on the people's choice as well. So the consumers are hence restricted because of the lack of levels of creativity and also the easy access of interaction. If I am reading a newspaper, if I am reading a magazine, and I want to share my opinion on something that I really just now read, it is not really accessible because then I would have to write to the people, I would have to write to the newspaper people, the press people, and that is how I will be able to at times, when it reaches there, then it gets me back to when, my opinion will either be published or I will get an answer to my opinion. So it is a very weak structure. It has a very weak structure where it comes to the interaction with the information and with the people around. Also, it is usually restricted to a certain area or a city and does not have a quick global reach. Like I explained you, it does not have a quick global reach because it is limited to that particular area. It is limited, okay, now that you've got to know about the information, you will print that information and you will circulate that information in the areas which are accessible to you, in the areas which are within your reach. And hence it has again a restriction or a limited setup. Now, in contrast, talking about the other media setup is the electronic media. So, electronic media has radio, television, electronic email and internet as the runners of the mass electronic media or as the major parts of the electronic media. So, with improved technology, the electronic media has become more innovative with the depiction of images and sounds. The way I am interacting with you, it is how is it happening? It is happening through internet. I am sitting here, you might be sitting in some corner of the world, but still we have this interaction. If not interaction, we have this exchange of knowledge. I have this exchange of ideas with you. So when I do, or the way you have been taking your virtual classes, you have been taking your virtual classes from last 1 year, where your teacher is sitting at some place and you're sitting at some other place, but hence the interaction is possible through the medium of internet, because you are able to talk to her at that particular point of time. You're able to hear to her opinions. All of these aspects come under the electronic media, and hence has become very, very popular stage for expressing of the public opinion, as it reaches to the public faster. I am talking to you, or let's say here, if I've taken an example, or if I've taken the picture of Obama, maybe it's addressing people in the US and here in India also, immediately and live, at that particular point of time only, we get to know what is he saying. And that is what is being done with the help of electronic media. Now, moving to one of the very, very important aspect of media and the kind of information that we are, as the citizens of India are to get, and we have this as a right to get that particular information, has actually been explained through one of the rights that you must have heard about, I'm sure, is the Right to Information Act of 2005. Now, what is this right to information? How is this responsible in our life? How is it playing a very important role in our life? Is important for us to understand. Now, right to information. So, in a democracy, the government must share the power with the humblest if it wants to empower the weakest. Very, very important sentence. You must share the power with the humblest, someone who is very humble, the whole group of society rather, which is humble. If it wants to empower the weakest, if you want to empower the weakest, you must share your information with the humblest of the people, so that you get those perspectives, so that you get those reflection on your actions. And it is precisely because of this reason that the Right to Information Act of 2005 was passed. Now, under this act, this right is closely linked with our basic rights such as freedom of speech and expression and right to education. So, all of these are the major aspects of the right to information. This was passed due to the demands of various organizations and movements for attaining this right. So people actually wanted this. We want the right to information. We want the access of all the information and access of all the actions that the government is taking. And on the demand of the people and various organizations, this Right to Information Act was being passed. One such movement was MKSS, that was the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan of Rajasthan under the leadership of social activist Aruna Roy ji. So when you talk about Aruna Roy, you see her as a woman who has led the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan and has been a very major reason of the establishment of this act of RTI in our constitution. So the common people asked for the copies of bills, vouchers and names of persons who have been paid wages in construction of schools, dispensaries, small dams and community centers. Now, what is this act and how did it come to be? Now, under this act, people openly asked the government to provide the copies of the bills, To whom have you paid the wages for the construction of, let's say, government schools, dispensaries, dams, community centers? Who have you paid? What amount have you paid? What are the names of the people that you have paid? Because there was a conflict that the government was saying that they have paid the people. However, the people who had actually worked did not receive those payments. So the people wanted to see the bills, the copies of the bills, the vouchers of who the payment has actually gone to. On paper, such projects were complete, but it was a common knowledge that funds were misused. On papers, it showed that the project is complete, but then these people were able to acknowledge, and these people were actually able to see that these funds have been misused. The roofless school buildings, dispensaries without walls, incomplete dams, and community centers having no doors and windows. The words here is the windows. No doors and windows were the proof of people's demand. On papers, the government has showed that we have invested everything. We have actually used the funds that we got for this setup. We have completed the projects of having a building, or for the school building, a dispensary, a community center, but in reality, these projects were not completed. In reality, there were roofless school buildings, there were dispensaries without walls, and incomplete dams and community centers without doors and windows. And hence, there was a major difference in what was written on papers and what was the actual reality. When the actual reality came out to be different from the paper, what was written on the papers, then is when people actually starting more, demanding for more. That, we need the information of each and everything that the government is doing. And hence, the MKSS raised awareness on the issue through Jan Sunwai, which is the public hearing. It also staged dharnas until their demand was met. So it was not easy. It was not easy. They actually came in Jan Sunwai, that is the public hearings. They had dharnas. They wanted their demands to be fulfilled. In spite of opposition from the government official, the government of Rajasthan passed the RTI in 2000 only. Despite the government officials who were not at all ready to disclose all the official documents, despite that, when they fought this in the court, and the court realized that, while you interpret the constitution, the public is actually entitled, and the public is actually within their rights to ask for all the information. And hence, the government of Rajasthan passed the act of RTI in the year 2000. Now, seeing this, several other states afterwards also passed this act. Ultimately, on 15th of June 2005, the government at the center passed the Right to Information Act, and hence it was implemented in the nation worldwide, in the country worldwide. Now, this is effective throughout the country. Herein, it says that it is effective throughout the country. Now, the right to information has enabled the citizens to access the information that is under the control of public authority. Obviously, you do not have the access of information of all the things and everything that the government is doing. And hence, whatever is accessible by and within the public authority, the citizens have the full right to access that information. This right has promoted transparency and accountability in the working of different departments. Herein, you have seen that it is become more transparent of actually what is happening. Show us what is happening. and the government bodies have become more accountable, in a way more responsible for taking their actions, because they do realize that if public see that something is not happening right, they may demand for the documents and they may file an RTI, and hence they would have to present all the documents which will not really match with the current situation, and hence they will be in trouble. So that is what is the impact of RTI in our society today. Now, talking about one very major aspect of what are the important provisions of this act. So starting with that, every public authority, that is the institution or the body established, controlled or funded by the government, must maintain all its records in such a way that such records are easily available. First things first, you have to maintain the records. If someone is asking for it, you at least got to have it so that you can present it to that person, right? So you have to maintain all of those records, all the public authority institutions. Secondly, every public authority must publish information about its organization, functions, duties, important policies and decisions, planned expenses, and so on. Not everyone will come and ask for it. You got to do something from your side as a government, as well as a public authority as well, to tell the people that this is what you are doing. And hence you are supposed to publish information about your organization, about what are the functions of the organization, duties, policies, decisions, and how are you planning the expenses, and how has your previous year been. All of these things have to be published so that anyone and everyone who wants the access of it can access it there and then. Third things, every public authority must appoint public information officers in all its administrative units or offices to give information to the people. You got to appoint the public information officers. Someone is asking for the information for you. Who is accountable to give that information? Who has the records of all the information? Who is, in a way, spokesperson from the government institution side? It is done through the appointment of the public information officer. Also, a person who wishes to get the information from a public authority must make a request in writing and pay the prescribed fee. We have to understand a little bit of this aspect also, why to pay a fee. Now, every citizen, if we can't have every government as a responsible government, we can't even have every citizen as a responsible citizen. It may be just for not very valid reason that you might want to have the access of some kind of information. So the first thing is that you write to them, as in you give them a written request that this is what I needed and this is the reason why I need it. And also pay the prescribed fee. If I am getting it for free, if I am getting that information for free, I might want to go back to the institution and get it again and again and again. But if I have this, if I have this accountability of paying the fee, that the government, obviously the government also has to take care that it is an affordable fee, so that people of all these stratas are able to have it, to access it. But herein, having the purpose of having the fee is that it is only and only being asked for by the people who actually are in need of it and who actually have a valid reason of asking for that information. Moving ahead, a public information officer who receives a request information for the information must either supply the information or reject the request within the fixed period of time. I don't see your request or your reason of asking for the information is right. I don't see any valid reason behind it, so I reject the your request of having the information, and hence you will, whatever the time period that has been fixed by the government, I am rejecting your information's request within that period of time, and we will not provide you the information because there's no logical reasoning behind behind you getting that information. It is not even as simple as, or you have been asking for the same information a lot of times, so there's no asset change, so you are requesting that request. But the point is here, the main part here is the fixed time limit. The action has to be taken within this fixed time limit and no delays to be entertained at all. An information commission must be set up at the center and in every stage to receive and look into the complaints from the people. Look into the complaints from the public. So an information commission should actually be set at the center and in all the states, so that it is easy for us and easy for the government to look into the complaints from the public. So all of these are actually the provisions, all of these are actually the important provisions of the Act. I hope this is able to, you are able to understand the concept of RTI and understand rather how important is it for us in the country. Moving to the part of assignment questions. How much have, let's see what all can we answer. So herein, the front runners of the electronic media are electronic media here. It is radio and television as the front runners of the electronic media. Moving ahead, the Right of Information Act was enacted in the entire country. Please understand they're talking about the entire country, not just in Rajasthan. It came in the June 2005, that is 15th June 2005. Moving ahead to what is Right to Information Act and where and how was it passed. What is Right to Information Act is something that you will be explaining, that it is our right as a citizen to have the access of the information that on the actions that the government is taking. Where and how was it passed? This passed, the first aspect or the first the first thing that we would want to talk about is the MKSS under Aruna Roy, and in the year 2000 was the first time it was passed in Rajasthan. However, centrally in the country it was adopted in 2005. So you will give a detailed answer in 3 points here. Highlight the relationship between the government and the media. This is something that we have already talked about in the previous video, wherein we talked about that how government is not really there to impose anything on media, and media is not there to actually take biases from the government, but at the same time present everything and anything that the government has in store in terms of its actions. Moving ahead, name the front runners of the electronic media. This is something that we have answered here. It is radio and television. Moving to the next question and the last question, write a short note on print media. I am sure you will be able to write a note in terms of the newspaper, what all it has. It has the magazines, it includes journals, your books, your newsletters. It covers all the current happenings that are, or the current events that are happening in the whole world, but it has a restricted zone in terms of its creativity also, and also in terms of the accessibility in the areas set up. All of these are the points that you will be mentioning as a part of the short note on print media. I hope the whole concept of RTI, why is it important, what are the aspects and what are the importances of print media and mass media, the mass media per se, and print media and electronic media under that is clear to you, and you are able to answer the questions being asked towards the end.